All right, let's talk about something really interesting today, building a sports betting bot that actually, makes money. We're going to pull back the curtain on the whole process based on a super data-driven system from the Zen Hodl course that promises a real, measurable edge.
And this quote, man, it just hits the nail on the head, right? Think about it. Most of the systems out there are either just someone's gut feeling, some mysterious picks from a guy on Discord, or these super complex academic models that look great in a research paper, but, well, they just lose money in the real world. They're all missing a verifiable edge.
So that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? If all those other methods are basically flawed, how in the world do you build a system from scratch that can consistently find an advantage and actually capitalize on it? Well, the answer starts with a core idea that kind of flips the whole thing on its head.
And that core idea is called the independent edge. Seriously, this one concept is what separates a system with a real chance from one that's pretty much doomed from the start. Let's break down exactly what that means.
Okay, so check this out. This is the big idea. Most models out there are trained using market odds. The problem with that is they just learn to agree with what the market already thinks. They become mimics. But this system, it's totally different. The model is intentionally kept in the dark about the odds. It only sees what's happening in the game, the score, the down, the time left. By forcing it to form its own opinion, it can actually spot when the market price is just wrong. And that difference, the gap between what your model thinks and what the market thinks, that is the edge you can trade.
So how do we actually build this independent brain? It's not magic. It's just a really logical three-step process that gets us from a pile of raw data to a predictive engine that's ready to be put to the test.
First things first, you need data, a ton of data. We're talking over 60,000 games scraped directly from ESPN's internal API. Then you have to figure out how good each team is, right? For that, we use a classic system called ELO. And finally, you take all that data and all those ratings and you use it to train a model that can predict who's going to win based on what's happening in the game right now.
So what is this ELO thing? The easiest way to think about it is like a live, constantly updating power ranking. Every team has a number. If a team with a low number pulls off a huge upset against a team with a high number, their score gets a massive boost. But if that same high-ranked team just crushes a weak opponent, they only get a few points. It's a really elegant and, frankly, beautiful way to measure a team's true strength over time.
Now, here's one of the most interesting and honestly counterintuitive parts of this whole thing. You'd think that a really complicated, powerful model would make the most money, right? But it turns out a much, much simpler model often does better. Why? Well, it's because the complex ones tend to overfit. They get confused by all the random noise in the data and start seeing patterns that aren't really there. The simpler model just focuses on the real important signals.
Okay, so we've built a model. We're feeling good. But this next part is where most systems fall apart. It's time for the brutal reality check. I'm talking about a backtest that is absolutely, unforgivingly honest. This is where theories go to die and real strategies are born. Let me show you what I mean. So let's say our model has a Brier score of 0.175. Now, you don't need to be a data scientist to get this. All you need to know is that a lower score is better, and 0.175 is a very good score. On paper, this model looks like an absolute world beater. But, and this is the huge but, when you actually simulate trading with this great model, it loses 3.4 cents on average for every single trade. And that right there is the key lesson. Raw accuracy and profitability are two completely different things. A model is totally useless if it can't make money.
This is why that backtest has to be so harsh. It's incredibly easy to fool yourself. You've got to watch out for things like look-ahead bias, which is where you accidentally use information from the future, or survivorship bias, where you conveniently forget to test on all the messy, weird games. Every single one of these traps can make a losing strategy look like a sure thing.
All right, but let's say your model survives the gauntlet. It's been tested, it's been proven to be profitable in simulation. Now it's finally time. Time to unleash the bot into the wild. But you don't just flip a switch and pray. No, there's a very careful way to do this. It's all about taking it slow. For the first couple of weeks, you run in shadow mode. The bot is doing everything it would normally do, finding trades, sending signals, but you're not actually placing any bets. You're just watching, verifying. Once you're confident, then you go live, but with tiny stakes. I'm talking $1 or $2. You only start to scale up your bet size after you have a real track record of dozens of positive trades. So, after all that, building the independent model, running it through a brutal backtest, and carefully deploying it, what are the key takeaways? Let's look at the actual results and wrap up with the most important principles.
The results, frankly, speak for themselves. You're looking at over 2,600 backtested trades across college basketball, college football, and the NFL. And the system has a 73% win rate and makes, on average, almost 10 cents of profit for every single dollar risked on a trade. This isn't just luck. This is the outcome of a system designed to only act when it has a real, verifiable edge.
So let's just boil it all down. What are the absolute core principles? Number 1, independence is everything. Your model has to be blind to the market. Number 2, simpler is very often better. Don't get lost in complexity. 3, the backtest is your only reality check. Trust it. And 4, always start in shadow mode before you risk a single real dollar. And that leaves us with one final big thought to chew on. The sports betting market is famously one of the most efficient and competitive markets in the entire world. If a systematic, data-driven approach can find a persistent edge here, it really makes you wonder, doesn't it? In what other markets, what other industries are similar edges just hiding in plain sight, waiting to be found?